Hey guys, this is Miss Jacobson, and today we're going to be doing a refresher on plot and how plot applies to personal narrative. As an example, today we're going to be working with one specific story from our mentor author for this year, Jack Gantos. So our lesson goal is I will be able to identify the essential parts of a plot and graph them on a plot map, and I will be able to explain the difference between an internal and an external story arc. So when you map out your story, your personal narrative from the external point of view, so you start with the outside events, what physically happened, and then you go from the external point of view to the internal point of view, what the character was thinking or feeling at each of those moments, you can really drill down to the heart of your story, what the lesson is or the emotional impact is, what the heart, the beating center of your story is. So you always start with an external story arc. This is the literal physical events that happen. You start with your exposition, then you move to your inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, and your resolution. Again, this is just in general what happened in the story, your external story arc. You start with this, and then you use the external story arc to think about how did my character react or feel or think at each point in the story. And that's where you get your internal story arc. If your character's emotions change, if their opinions change, if they learn a lesson, any of those things, those thoughts and emotions in the story can help you come to the theme or the heart of your story. So if you go into your Canvas, there is this video, Writing Radar. It's called Writing and Telling Great Stories with Jack Gantos. When you watch this video, it's going to have a video of Jack Gantos telling his story, Zippy the Roach, which is we will be watching live in class. So if you would like to watch it live with us, you're welcome to log in. Otherwise, you need to go watch the other video. After you are finished, you're going to fill in a plot diagram for Jack Gantos, and you're going to use this plot diagram to really think about what was his story really about. When you let yourself be guided by this question, what is my story really about? You tell your story in a completely different way. You find the heart of your story. So again, you have to start from the external point of view with the external story arc, the literal physical events of what happened. And then you move to the internal story arc, the thoughts and the emotions of the story. You start with the physical actions that happened, and then you think about how did the character think or feel or change as a result of the actions of the story. And that internal story arc will help you come up with the theme or the lesson. What your job is today is you're going to make a story mountain for Jack Gantos. You're going to start with the external story arc. Start with just what happened, the general story. So your teacher is either going to give you a paper copy if you're in person, or you're going to find this in OneNote if you're online, but you're going to fill in the literal physical events that happened, the external story. You're going to need to label each part of your plot diagram. You have notes to help you with that, and you also should have completed examples from past assignments in literature. And so you're going to fill in what's my exposition, what's my climax, what's my rising action, what's my resolution. But make sure you leave some space in those boxes, because this is not the only thing you're doing for this story mountain. After you've filled in the physical events, you have to get down and think, okay, so what's the emotional meaning, or what's the thoughts, or what's the lesson? What's the heart of his story? What's it really about? And that's where we have to think about the internal story arc. So once you finish the external story arc, the literal physical events that happened, in those same boxes, you're going to go back and do the internal story arc. You're going to tell me, how did Jack feel or think? What did he react at each moment on the on the external story arc? Those reactions, his thinking or his feeling, is what we call our internal story arc. When you have done both the external story arc and the internal story arc, you're going to turn this into Canvas. So again, you need to have both parts on your handout. Tell me what generally happened, what literally physically happened for the external story arc, and what happened emotionally or in Jack's thoughts? What was the internal story arc?